Welcome to BNEWS Weekly Special Report. I'd like to welcome our guest today, new Town Administrator John Danizio. Welcome to the program, John.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks for having me.
John is, we're going to talk about his matriculation and how he got here, but one of the things that's commonly heard from people I know in town government is John is the smartest guy in the room. So deny that if you like.
Yeah, well, I'm the only one in the room probably telling you that.
So let's start out by your journey here, your matriculation. How did you decide that you would get into public service and municipal government in general?
Yeah, so it started I've been doing it for over 20 years. About 20 years ago, I was leaving the field I was in, looking for something new to do, and the budget director job or assistant city auditor job in Woburn, where I'm from, opened up. And
we won't hold that against you, John.
Yeah, as some people do. So I wanted to look into that. So I gave it a shot. I threw my name in, and I started there, and I was hooked right away. And it was a little different working in the town I lived in. People would ask you at the store or at the grocery store, at the ball field or something, hey, what's going on with this and what's going on with that? But I loved it, and I was hooked right away. From there, I was there for about 4 years, and loved every second of it. And I wanted to, progress in my career and school. During my time in Woburn, I worked quite a bit with the school business official there, Joe Alia, one of my mentors. And I loved working with him and thought maybe that might be a path to take. So I went to Salem, and I was the school business manager there for a couple years. And I stayed in schools for about a dozen years. Salem for a couple, Winchester for a long time as a school business manager, and Arlington just for a couple years before moving back to the city side, which I used to call the dark side, the city and town side. And I came back here when
That's what the city side calls the school
exactly.
side, the dark side.
That's what I say now. When Paul took over, I came back here and started out in his old job as town accountant and assistant town administrator, and then into just assistant town administrator. And then with Paul moving on, I was lucky enough to move into his position.
Yeah, one of the people who says that about the smartest guy in the room is your predecessor, Paul Sagarino. So tell us about, where did you matriculate in your education?
So I'm out of college. I went out of high school. I went to
out of Woburn High.
Out of Woburn High. Yep, born and raised in Woburn. Still live there.
Tanner.
Tanner through and through. And I went to Springfield College to play football right out of high school. Plans changed. My wife now, girlfriend then, we had a child early in life, so I had to move to a college closer to home. So I transferred to Bentley College, and I graduated from Bentley College, and started working right away. Continued to build that family. I have 3 beautiful daughters. And most importantly, I have a new grandson, Mac.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's a couple months old.
Well, you won't be paying for his wedding, but
yes,
you'll be paying for 3 others.
Thankfully, 1 down wedding-wise, and 2 to go.
Okay, great.
And then I was in the dreaded private sector, as we call it, for a few years, and until I started in Woburn. So
wonderful. All right, so let's go on to important things. We've had 13 Saturdays in a row of rain, and you're a weekend golfer. Yep. So tell me, how's your golf game? What's your handicap?
It's in shambles right now. The good news is my handicap's the bad news is my handicap's as high as it's been. The good news is my golf trip this weekend with the guys that we've been doing for 24 years. So I'm glad my handicap is up a little bit.
Absolutely.
I'm bummed that I haven't been playing much, but it'll be great to be out there. It doesn't look like rain this weekend. So
yeah, I understand you're playing at about a 13. We haven't played yet.
Yeah, I'm up from there. I'm 15 now. So
15.
Yeah.
Oh, that's robbery.
Yeah.
That's robbery. Okay, so congratulations on new grandchild.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful experience.
Thank you.
Let's talk. Let's start off with Route 3A. What can we look forward to in terms of that completion? It's been an ongoing nightmare for commuters here for the last couple of months. What is the status of that project at this point?
So I not only hear about the nightmare, I live the nightmare. my grandson lives in Billerica, so I drive that road quite a bit every day at lunch.
So do my children, and grandchildren.
So yeah, it's been a tough couple months, but we finally we see the light. You can see if you pulled in here today, you saw the nicely new paved section. They've started up here at the high school, and they've paved through the intersection at Bedford and Cambridge on just night one. So hopefully that paving part is supposed to take 10 paving sessions. It won't be 10 nights because 4th of July and we're likely to get weather. So over the next couple weeks, the paving portion will be done, and then the painting, and we'll have a nice defined
one lane
travel
lane. What do you anticipate? I know the early mid-COVID traffic analysis that they did showed just a minute or two delay with the one lane through Burlington. They did redo that. So what can we expect in terms of change in traffic pattern?
Yeah, I think there'll be a learning curve, obviously. I think it will help now that they'll be marked. I think for a lot of time, folks drive it, whether we're not sure if it's two lanes, but those of us that grew up around here, we know where it's two lanes.
Right.
But it will be clearly marked. There will be the bike lane, which people will need to get used to. We haven't had them around here in a long time, or we haven't had them on that street ever.
Right.
So there'll be the learning curve with that. But I think at the beginning, the traffic will be worse. It will take people longer, but then people will find their way and their timing, and people will get used to it being one lane. And that's what happened in different portions of this road as the lanes were more clearly defined, or as the bike lanes have gone in certain places.
Well, we've seen it in Billerica. It's been absorbed pretty well, and it's comforting to know that those 4 or 5 people that ride bikes through Burlington
will have a nice
path. Nice bike lane. The timing of the thing in terms of the July 4th parade turned out to be a correct decision for them.
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah, I think it would have been tough to have that parade with that first good portion of it being on the road that was, and we drive it, we know how bad it is.
Right.
To have that many folks having to travel down that. I know that the 4th of July, there's going to be a picnic, if you heard about it, on the Common.
Right.
So hopefully folks will just redirect themselves up to the Common, and we'll be able to do it on a nice fresh road next year.
Right. Well, they were put in a difficult place, the 4th of July committee, in having to book bands and whatnot, and then the unknown of whether or not the route would actually be okay.
Yeah, I know nobody felt good about it, but right now you can see it would have been.
Right. Now let's talk about business in town. Where do we stand on contracts? We have a number of contracts: police, fire, command officers, etc.
Yep.
BMEA. Where are we in that process in terms? We just signed them a year ago, I think, for all the groups.
So all contracts for our 5 unions end on this June 30th. Would all expire. 2 of those contracts plus the administrative and professional staff. These are the department heads, professional, middle management, that type of things. They're not technically a union, but they bargain their compensation plan collectively. So those 3, the BMEA, the DPW, and the AMP, were all settled and approved back at May town meeting. Right. So there's not going to be any lag or any retro needed for those contracts. They're going to start July 1 with a nice fresh contract.
And we'll be off for 3 years without any.
And then it'll be 3 years for them. The other 3, the 3 public safety, the 2 police, and 1 fire union, those are ongoing. I'll take a little bit longer. I feel like the reason we were set up nicely was through the great work of the school committee, the superintendent, and the teachers union. I don't want it to sound like an insult or picking a fight with the MTA. It's more of a compliment to our group for being able to get a contract in what hasn't been easy times for school committees and school unions in the recent years. They were able to do it with no standouts, no holding signs, no strike, anything like that. So I really applaud that. The contract sort of sets the mark. When our biggest union settles for a number, that kind of sets the mark for where the other unions expect to be. And they were able to get a fair contract for everybody involved and to do it without any
Although
like that.
Police and fire always want to seem to be last.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they don't. Yeah. Yeah.
No insult to police and fire.
Certainly not.
Known to be difficult negotiators.
Yep.
We might say that, yeah, or hard bargainers.
Yes.
Let's
Yep.
put it that way. Let's talk about the police station. 41 million, I think, is the number you're coming in with that's been approved. You're in the process, I think, now of approving the exterior and all the accoutrements, et cetera, that go along with the building. Is that done? Is planning board done? Is conservation done? When can we see a shovel in the ground?
Sure. So the whole project is just over 46 million. It's been a long time coming. We're working our way through the permit, the approvals. So the last one hopefully will be tomorrow night at so Wednesday night at the planning board. We've been to them for a preliminary design review for one meeting, and we started our site plan review. The wrinkle in it is that the police station happens to fall within the town center overlay district.
Yeah, sure.
So there's some limitations on building materials you can use, and it adds another layer of approvals from the planning board, which working with the planning board has been great. They were kind enough to schedule an unscheduled meeting for this week. The next meeting wouldn't have been until July, but knowing that we're anxious to get our plans finalized and get the bid out on the street, they helped us out and added an extra meeting, and we're the only thing on the agenda. So that's great. We've been fully approved by conservation, fully approved by Board of Health. So that's the last hurdle to get over as far as the building design goes. And obviously the select board has approved this week, and we're hoping to have sort of a high-level schedule. What you can expect is we'll have our plans done the end of next month. We'll be on the street for a bid throughout August. We'll award a contract in September and October. We'll start the demo in October or November. And you'll see some fences going up and the building coming down. And then it takes about 2 years.
Yeah. I went to the sixth grade there in 1962, and it was already ancient. It was already 67 years old.
You want me to grab you something out of the building?
Yeah, right. No, please. I have some fine memories there, none of which include windows rattling, snow blowing through them. None of those memories. Now, let's talk about the water treatment plant, which it's into obsolescence at this point. Have you concluded the demo of the aeration towers and things of that sort?
Yep. So that treatment plant, Vinebrook, is going to be used as our temporary station for the police station. The good part of that is, we're spending about $2.5 million rehabbing that, demoing and rehabbing that. So it's going to be used for 2 years as a police station, but then it's got some useful life after that.
Right.
So that's going to give us a good option for some space crunch that we have throughout the town departments. But as far as using it for the police station, it's ongoing. The landscaping has been taken care of outside. All the demo of the inside has happened. The towers that were inside have all been demoed, and you've been in there. That big room with those big towers in it was made into just a big giant room. Now there's walls and offices and
already. So that's underway, almost fully completed.
Yep. So we expect to move in there sometime, hopefully right around Labor Day. Get in that building and get them going over there.
Now, there's going to be some competing interests for that property, recreation, et cetera, town hall. What kind of plans have you been looking at in terms of splitting that space up in its different uses?
Yeah, so once it's finalized, we'll get the blueprints together or the room space summary together, and sort of we'll start with all the department heads and go over who is interested in going over there, what fits best. I don't know that we'll do a whole space summary type of study, but I think we could handle it internally and then find out what makes the most sense to move over there. But you're right, there's going to be a lot of interest.
Right. Pickleball courts, canoeing, fishing, etc., basketball courts. And now in terms of the water, we had, I think, 6 wells or 7 wells that weren't taken offline or were online, et cetera, that were when it was the main source of town water. What's going to happen to all of those wells and those pumping stations that fed into that Vinebrook treatment plant?
So all of the wells have been offline for a few years now. It's part of the decommissioning process.
Right.
So everything that everything that is going to happen has already happened with as far as decommissioning, stopping the pumping,
Any demo?
stop pumping out of the
Any demo
wells.
of that?
None planned to date.
Right, right. Okay, further on the water subject, we had a big surprise on PFAS when the state suddenly decided that they would go 40 parts per, was it billion? 40 parts per trillion
Yeah.
below what the federal regulation was. So we ended up with a $15 million PFAS treatment plant down at Mill Pond. Then you got another surprise. Tell us about that.
With
With the lowered, even lower.
to go from 40 to 20.
Lower to lower.
Yes. The good news is our plant is working even better than as planned, with zero trace of any PFAS or other chemicals that we worry may come next from the EPA. But the plant has been great. It's got its again the same learning curve. As far as the filtration devices go, we've had to try a few different filtration devices, and it slows down our ability for production of water, which isn't great this time of year,
Right.
where we can kind of get maxed out. But we're working through that. We've tried two different types, a resin and then a cartridge filter. But we're trying to figure out what's going to work best for us and to make sure the water quality stays where it needs to be.
Now, the further reduction in PFAS required changing of the filters more frequently, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So when just the PFAS itself requires filtration, and it's brand new, and nobody had been doing it, so we weren't really sure what type of filtration products we were going to use. So we initially got an appropriation to buy the resin product, which we expected would last about a year and a half at the quantity we buy, but have no real data to say how long it's going to take.
Right.
So now we have some data on that, and since then, some other options have become available that are significantly less expensive, and we're currently trying those too. And all of that still needs to be approved by the DEP and EPA.
So is this a carbon charcoal filtration process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the status of the reservoir right now? I know the last couple of years during the drought period we got very low. We're pulling from the Shawsheen. Where is the reservoir at this point in terms of capacity?
Well, if you had asked me before today, I would have said everything was great.
It's up 100 degrees.
And having a meeting with Brian White, which folks by the time they see this would have already received a robocall from the DPW talking about water usage being beyond our peak these last few weeks, and could potentially be from folks watering outside of the. So it's just to remind folks about the watering limitations, because if we have to ask for more water, it's going to trigger a full ban for the whole summer, which right now we only have our regular water conservation policy.
Right.
So
the bulk of our water right now is still being produced at Mill Pond?
Half.
Half?
Yeah, so we're pulling half. We don't have our full capacity from MWRA yet, so we can produce about half of our peak capacity in Mill Pond.
Okay, and that was my next question, is about MWRA. Where is that construction in terms of providing the full access to the MWRA system?
Yep. So we have a crazy numbering scheme on the phasing. We're on phase 2B, which is to be the final phase, hopefully, and that's going to go out to bid. It's actually out to bid. We expect to start it this construction season, likely towards the end of the summer, beginning of the fall. So it will probably leak into next spring to finalize it. But that will be that final piece that will go down Middlesex Turnpike from, say, Lexington line to just past the mall on Middlesex Turnpike. And that will be the final piece of pipe, well, hopefully the final piece of pipe that will get us up to that capacity that we originally expected from MWR. There's a chance that we don't make the full 6.5 million gallons ability to take that, although we wouldn't need that because we produce half of our own water.
And we don't want that because it's more expensive water, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, one last water question on the condition of the standpipes and the Green Mountain tank. I know we did some maintenance on those, particularly on Green Mountain. I think wore away some of the inside of the walls. What are the condition of those tanks at this point?
So Brian White is going to be asking for money at our next town meeting to do a kind of a, or we just got some appropriation this year to do some planning for the whole water system, and that's going to be to review the rest of the status of the standpipes and review all the towers to make sure we're using them effectively. Are they all needed? And then to also see where the choke points are in the water system. So water comes in a 24-inch pipe, and then it gets to a place where it goes down to a 12-inch. And there are other things we can do to alleviate that.
Right. Are we still doing I&I, which was inflow and infiltration, which was a big problem for us in the 90s? Are we still following that program in terms of determining where those leaks are or where we have some illegal infiltration? Illegal inflow. Infiltration is from groundwater and things of that sort. That's an ongoing problem?
It is. Recently, this past town meeting, we approved Project 16, so we've been doing this for a long time.
A long time.
That program is outstanding. It's funded 75% on a grant and 25% on a 0% loan, and we pay for it from the charges for people hooking up to the system. So hopefully that program is around for as long as we need it until we've stopped all the and I think Brian will tell you it will probably never end.
It'll never end. We live in New England. You have frost heaves.
Right,
frost heaves, unfortunately, affect the integrity of the pipes, both water and sewer, which sewer is my next, one of my favorite subjects. Right. How would you characterize the current state of the sewer system? I know we did the cross-country pipe, which took that out of the Great Meadow. We've had ongoing problems. We had 2 years ago, I think Brian was digging out that huge fat and hair and whatnot, the blockage that was down on Network Drive. How would you characterize the status of the sewer system at this point?
I think every year we get a good report from Tom Hayes, who is, he's happy with the system. We talked about they had about a 10-year plan in place to replace pumping stations, force mains. We've got 2 big ones left. Next will be Douglas force main. Those are several $1 million, but now you get 50 more years of protections there. And then the lines are, everybody's sewer lines are old, but we've luckily stayed on top of water and sewer in this town for the last 20 years.
And we had no lead, right? There was a study of whether or not we had lead in various pipes and water pipes and sewer lines.
I know Tom has answered that question at a meeting I've been at. I just can't remember what
it was undetected apparently for the ones that we could look at.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned pumping stations. We have, I think, 11 total pumping stations that lift the total sewer capacity out of the town. Where are they in terms of replacing the individual stations?
So that's what I was talking about. I think they have 2 left.
2 left.
Doing through all of them, and then they were going to be all. We talked about, well, then we can rest for a couple decades before we have to start replacing them again. But it was a thoughtful plan, but a little aggressive to make sure we got on them and put them in our plan and get them taken care of timely before anything fails. That's something you don't want to mess around. Any sewer failures.
Right. Yeah, you don't get a call except when you get a sewer call.
Yeah, that's not a good call.
Now, what other capital projects are you looking at on the capital project schedule going out the next 10? That are major projects, other than the ones we've discussed.
So we have the typical ongoing, the town has a great program in place for both paving and water sewer main replacements, where every other year they ask for an appropriation. We ask for it, as a bond, and then if we can pay for it in different means. We've used free cash quite a bit and kept, $30 to $50 million off the debt schedule over, the last 15 to 20 years, which is great. But we do $3.5 million for roads and sidewalks and parking lots every other year. You couple that with your Chapter 90 dollars now.
Matching state funds.
Yeah. So now you have a good portion to be able to plan ahead and take away big chunks of paving. We do the same with water and sewer. The bulk of our capital plan, other than a couple of major building projects, is going to be water and sewer related. It's the last couple pump stations, it's towers, it's the water system, it's water meters. We just started our first appropriation of replacing all the water meters throughout the town over a 5-year period. That's about a $5 million price tag for that.
Well, didn't we do that a number of years ago and put them all into electronic readers so you didn't have somebody coming in the house and reading your manual meter?
Yep, they did. I think they said it was over 15 years ago.
Oh, really?
That's sort of the upgrade
time
now.
flies when you're having fun, right? So it's been 15 years, has it?
Yep.
Good Lord.
Other major would be, a potential new high school with a potential new regional high school that we would be, part of that too. And then at some point there still would be a Pine Glen either renovation or new school up there. That's probably not in the next 10 years, but those are really the three.
Well, let's talk about the debt schedule. Currently, we're at $70 million that we have outstanding.
Yeah, about $75 million. Yeah.
Okay. $41 million for the police station, $46 million for the police station, $75 million for Fox Hill, or is that $81 million?
Yeah, 60 something.
$325 million projected for high school. So that puts us up at $500 million, 7 times what our current indebtedness is. First of all, if all of this goes through and we do end up with a $500 million debt, how do you think that affects our borrowing in terms of S&P rating? We're a AAA rated community, which took us many years to achieve that level of competence. Do you see that kind of a debt load affecting our debt rating?
Well, I think it depends. It's what happens and how we get there. I think we've worked hard to maintain that AAA rating, and we'll continue to do so as best possible. I think little things that can change it. I think the last debt planning meeting or debt summit we had, I said we've got about $75 million in debt. We're gonna more than double that over the next couple of years with those 2 big projects coming on. Then we're gonna have over $200 million. Then we're gonna more than double that with the next couple projects that come on. So it's what else we do if we continue to keep stuff off the debt plan and only those type of things go on. And as far as would we lose our AAA rating, I think one of the big factors that will play into that is debt exclusions. If we do a debt exclusion, the rating agencies look at that as a positive. Mm-hmm. They're saying you went to the town, you asked for their vote to do this project. The town has supported it. It shows that the town supports that. We don't have operating overrides here. If we can keep those at bay, that's also a positive. So we're very hopeful that we'll be able to keep our AAA rating and be able to do those, once in a generation projects that it just happens to be time for this generation to do it.
Okay. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want to thank John for his time, and we hope to have you on a regular basis on Town Administrator Updates.
Great. Look forward. Hopefully next time I come back, my handicap's a little better.
Me too. I played today. My round matched the temperature, which is not good when the temperature is 100 degrees. Thank you again, John Danizio, Burlington Town Administrator.